Welcome to episode 497 of the Pittsburgh Nerd Podcast. I'm Sean.
And I'm Ian, and this is the only podcast that says,
My dear family, guess what? Today I found out what my special purpose is for. Gosh, what a great time I had. I wish the whole family could have been here with me. Maybe some other time, as I intend to do this a lot. Every chance I get. I think next week I'll be able to send more money as I may have extra work. My friend Patty has promised me a blowjob. Your loving son, Nathan.
wow.
A little something from the jerk today.
Yeah.
Yeah. How are you, sir?
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I watched A Christmas Story.
Okay. How was that?
It was okay.
A Christmas Story.
Yeah.
It's a true sequel to A Christmas Story.
Yeah.
It's on HBO Max.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I get what they were trying to do.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it's just invoking nostalgia.
That's kind of what it was doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how I feel about it. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. And the mom's not in it either.
Yeah.
It's played by Julie Haggerty, of all people.
Yeah.
From Airplane, if
Yeah.
people don't know
Yeah.
who that
People
is.
don't know.
So, yeah, it was okay.
Yeah.
I thought they captured the time period right.
And it's supposed to take place in the 70s, right?
75 or
75,
something
yeah.
like that.
Okay.
So I thought that was, as far as a period piece, I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah.
But they captured, in the first movie, they captured the time period really well.
Right.
So, yeah, it was pretty good. I mean, Ralphie was living in an apartment with his 2 kids and wife.
Yeah.
I'm assuming. I don't know. Is he in Chicago? I don't know.
Yeah.
But big city.
Yeah.
Somewhere. So, and he's a writer. So
Yeah.
yeah, parts of it were good. Other parts were like, I don't know if it went that direction. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You just have to watch it and make up your own mind on that.
Yeah.
But it was okay. I'm not going to say it was
You were entertained.
terrible. Yeah, I laughed at a couple parts.
Yeah.
You know, so it was pretty good in that area.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think it's tough. I think it's tough to sequelize anything 30 plus years later.
Yeah.
You know, it's been done a couple of times well. I Blade Runner 2049 is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I think Tron Legacy is amazing.
Yeah.
You know, but I think it's tough, and especially a movie like that that's so beloved.
Yeah.
As far as a Christmas movie, especially as a Christmas movie.
Yeah.
As a seasonal treat, people look forward to this time of year so they can watch A Christmas Story.
Right.
You know, it's a holiday tradition, if you will. And to kind of come back with the mostly original cast and try to sequelize that.
Yeah.
And I think it's a tough task.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I get it.
I went in thinking it was going to be shit, and I was surprised that it was better than what I thought it was going to be.
Right.
But people are loving it.
Yeah.
I didn't truly fall in love with this movie,
Yeah.
but I thought it was okay.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Yeah.
I did watch the Guardians Christmas special.
That was fun.
Yeah, it was. That was good.
Yeah.
Bacon was good in it.
Yeah.
Real good.
Yeah, he was. He was real good.
Yeah. And I liked the, a lot of the acting on Mantis. I thought she did really well. And of course, Drax was good. But I thought Drax was really good.
Yeah.
I thought the two of them together really paired off nicely for the special.
They did. I mean, they seem to be a thing anyway, the two of them.
Yeah.
Like, it seems like how that's kind of worked out with the team dynamic. But, like, them being the two idiots, like, this makes sense that it was like, well, let's just go get Kevin Bacon.
Right.
Because they think he's this hero, and it turns out, like they're disgusted, like, you're just an actor. Oh, my God.
It's like puking.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's funny. Dry heaving. But it was filled with, Drax's one-liners, which I appreciate.
Yeah.
Well, not his one-liners, just any... He steals scenes. I mean,
he does.
He's like the comedic relief that I love.
Yeah. I mean, you go back to, like, Infinity War and, like, the whole thing where, I'm invisible.
Yeah.
I'm moving so slow you can't see me. Like, yeah, I can,
But it's good.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I liked it. Roll tear moment.
Yeah.
When she tells him
Yeah.
it's his half-sister or whatever.
Yeah.
I thought that was cool.
Yeah. I think that's the best gift you could have given me.
And I thought, yes, and I thought the way they did it, like the way they showed Quill Christmas was cool.
Yeah.
Like, they went all out.
Yeah.
And I liked how, what's her name was annoyed by the whole thing.
Yeah.
It made sense. You know what I mean? Like, everything made sense about it. So, I thought it was pretty good. Oh, rolling a tear moment at the end with Yondu. When he told the story of what really happened.
Yeah. And I love that they did that, like, as a nod. Like, it's a James Gunn nod to the Star Wars Christmas special.
Yeah.
Doing that as animation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
it looked... and what was even better to me was it looked like Dawn Bluth animation.
Yeah.
I was like, oh... like... That's just how cool James Gunn is, Yeah. But yeah, it was like that little moment where like you go back to he may have been your father, but he wasn't your daddy. That shit like that's like
I don't know. Crazy, right?
Yeah.
So,
but it's amazing, like over these films, like how invested you emotionally invested you become in these characters. That a moment like that does
trigger,
kind of hit you in the heart a little bit.
Yeah.
Because
it kind of shows you. I like how it's opening up Yondu even after the fact that he's dead.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
To reinforce the idea that Yondu deep down was a good guy.
Yeah.
And he loved him.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he had to act that way in front of his crew.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, and then looking back at the films, you knew Yondu was never going to kill Peter.
Right.
No matter what he did.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It was just all an act.
Yeah.
In front of his men. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So.
Yeah, I mean, it's...
And it's funny when you look back at it, because Quill's like, yeah, okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Like, there was never fear in Quill that Yondu was going to actually ever kill him.
Right. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? If you look back at the movies, you knew.
Yeah. Even double-crossing him in the first movie...
Yeah.
It was like, Yondu was just like, that's my boy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what he would have done.
Yeah.
So, yeah. You knew it was never going to happen.
Yeah. But what's interesting to me is, like, this is the one franchise Marvel's made where, like, when they announced it, more than any other character, we were all like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, they can't, no. They've crossed the line. And this may be the best franchise.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
oh, I agree.
Out of all the Marvel stuff, like, and we might as well get into it. Like, the trailer came out Thursday for Guardians Volume 3.
Yeah.
And, I mean, Gunn said he's, clearly he's done. He's going to DC. This is his hurrah. And the other actors have pretty much said that they're done. I'm sure if they back up a Brinks truck for Pratt and a couple of the others, like they're like, yeah, okay, yeah, we'll show up for a crossover movie, you know.
Yeah.
But I mean, like kind of like they did with Robert Downey Jr. But like, I like the Guardians as we know it is ending,
This is it.
and this trailer made it feel that way.
Yeah.
Like you said, as after you watched the trailer, like bad things are gonna happen in this movie.
Yeah, it is.
You know.
It is.
Yeah.
Now, do I think it's going to be like Suicide Squad? No. I don't think he's going to kill everybody off.
Right.
But I think there are going to be a couple of them that are going to die. And I don't know how that's going to happen, but
Right.
It's not going to be like Suicide Squad where he killed everybody off.
No.
I just don't think that's going to happen. I don't think Marvel will let that happen.
No.
But I think there's definitely going to be some tears are rolling in this one.
Yeah, I'm very concerned about my well-being during and after this movie.
Agreed.
You know.
I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we also got our first look at Adam Warlock in that.
Yeah.
I was like, I mean, I knew he was in it, but it was still like, oh shit, there he is.
Yeah.
You know.
Was he part of the team walking?
I think so.
Yeah. Just curious.
Yeah. Like, I have a feeling it's going to be like one of those situations where, like, at first he's against the Guardians and then he joins them.
Well, yeah.
Because of what they're facing. You know, but
we'll see.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm intrigued to see how certain things tie together, too, like based upon the holiday special, which, I mean, it doesn't do anything, but it does a lot at the same time.
Right.
Like, we know, like, their home base now is nowhere.
Right.
Like, they've basically bought it or something.
Mm-hmm.
And they're trying to fix up nowhere. And, you know, the revelation that Mantis and Pete are step-siblings.
Yeah.
You know, that... So what ramifications is that going to have, you know, towards this movie? There's a... And Pete has always dealt with... I mean, they've all have dealt with abandonment issues.
Right.
In one way or another. So... excuse me. I'm very interested to see how, like, that works its way into this.
Yeah.
You know, so, I mean, there's a lot of interesting aspects to this. That it's, like... I'm very intrigued to see how this all plays out.
Yeah.
And, like, one thing Marvel has not done very well is that third movie for a franchise, for the most part.
Right.
Like, Iron Man 3 is a bit of a clunker. You know, Civil War doesn't live up to 1 and 2, in my opinion.
Right.
But it's still a very, very good movie, don't get me wrong. You know, Thor Ragnarok, you know. So, third movies in a franchise, for the most part, have kind of dudded with Marvel a little bit. But I think James Gunn's good enough, and I think he's had a plan all along.
Yeah, I think this was his whole arc.
Like, he's had an arc in his head that he's kind of been working with Feige to make happen.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, I'm just sad he's leaving because I think that, you know.
Well, I am and I'm not. Like, I mean, clearly there's a little bit of, like, that thing, like, well, he's coming to DC.
Yeah.
He's going to fix DC.
Yeah.
And some of the stuff he's been tweeting, like, about DC, like, he tweeted a picture from a comic book called Kingdom Come, which is, like, it's a fucked up story. But it's like old man Superman, and, like, he's standing at a table, and, like, the Justice League is around him, like, and it's like, you know, making my plans. I'm like, oh shit, is he doing Kingdom Come? You know, like, is that where we're going? You know, because like with Schneider, it was Doomsday.
Yeah.
Not Doomsday. It was Darkseid.
Yeah.
That's the end game. That was the end. You know, his story was taking us to Darkseid.
Yeah.
like, so I feel like James Gunn studying under Kevin Feige has got to have like a plan. And where does that plan take you? What's your phase one, if you will?
Yeah.
You know, phase one of took you to the Avengers and opened you up to the Infinity Stones.
Yeah.
What's phase one for the new DCU take you to?
Yeah.
So to me, like, there is a bit of like greed where I'm like, he's ours now. Yeah. He's ours. We're coming back. But there's also a side of me too that's like, yeah, but I love what he does with Marvel.
Yeah.
Why can't you play in both sandboxes? But you can't.
I know. Yeah, I know. I believe
right.
It. I just don't want to leave Marvel. But
yeah.
Even Feige was like, I think, go for it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He was. I mean, James Gunn said one of the first people we talked to about it was Kevin Feige.
Right.
Like, so, and I mean, I'm not saying this is Marvel arrogance. They don't view DC as competition, because I'm sure they do in a certain way. But at the same time, if DC's putting out crap movies, it ends up dragging down your good movies. Because then it becomes that situation of like what we've always talked about is as long as the movies are good, the superhero genre will continue for years.
Yeah.
It's the second you start putting out crap that ends up dragging the genre down and kills it.
Yeah.
Well, Marvel's still putting out, they're still the gold standard.
Mm.
DC, I mean, Black Adam didn't do that great. It did okay. It didn't do that great. They released posters for the Flash and Blue Beetle next year, which were already in production. Like, Flash has been in production for fucking ever.
Yeah.
Like, it's like this thing of like, man, if these movies suck, like,
Yeah.
you're not helping the product overall.
Right.
So I think Kevin Feige roots for DC to do well, because if they're doing well, that means he can do well.
Right.
Instead, it's the exact opposite. People go see DC movies and, oh, it's a superhero movie. That's got to be pretty good.
Right.
And then they go to a DC movie and they're like, oh, what did I just fucking watch?
Right.
And now now you're turned off to those types of movies.
Right.
You know what I mean? I mean, it's part of the reason why the cowboy genre died. There were so fucking many, and the majority of them were bad.
Yeah.
And when you did get a good one, it was pulled down because of all the crap.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so, fingers crossed, James Gunn can right that ship.
Right.
I
hope so.
My fingers are crossed.
I think he'll do fine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just don't think. Well, I don't know. I'm sure he'll do fine in that universe.
Yeah. I mean, he knows it.
Yeah. He's well read.
Right. My only concern is, and like with Suicide Squad, you can get away with it. You can take the deep dive and find those oddball characters, those D-list characters, and make them kind of cool. Mm-hmm. Like Polka Dot Man.
Yeah.
Polka Dot Man in the comic books is a fucking joke.
Yeah.
Like, he was a 50s villain for Batman that was like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense in the 50s, but, in modern day, he's a fucking joke.
Yeah.
But Feige made him cool again.
Yeah.
Or not Feige, James Gunn. But you can do that in a Suicide Squad movie. Like, my only concern is I don't want him digging deep into, like, the C and D level characters that DC has to, like, prove how cool he is.
Right.
Like, no, let's keep our eyes on the prize,
Right.
I mean, maybe a Green Arrow, like don't go too far off the beaten path, because,
right.
But that's my only concern about James, because I could see him, the first movie's Wildcat. You're like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
I'm sure he has a plan.
James Gunn's first movie, DC Universe, The Question. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
How do we get here?
Well, I mean, he can go down that road.
He can, yeah, but I'm just saying, like...
I will be interested in... I will also be interested to see what music he brings to the table in these DC films.
Yeah, I mean, music's always a big thing with his movies.
With Gunn.
Yeah.
So, we'll see. I you know...
But the other side of it, though, is you have to set a template.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, Marvel movies have a look and feel. All of them.
Yeah.
Every single one of them. And when they go off of that template, like Iron Man 3, because that's not an Iron Man movie, that's not a Marvel movie, that's a Shane Black movie with superheroes.
Yeah.
When you do that, you seem to get the clunker.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like if James Gunn's doing this, like you have to have your tendencies. I get that, but at the same time, you have to be setting the template for what this universe looks like.
Right.
Overall.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's a hard thing to do and still be unique.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, with Suicide Squad, you could do it because you're being unique.
Right, and
You know,
plus...
and even with Peacemaker, I mean, fucking, the soundtrack to Peacemaker is fucking amazing.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, he pulled shit out I haven't heard since the 80s.
Right.
You know, I'm like, damn.
But you can't get that weird.
You can't. No. You have to find that line. And that's a tough thing to do.
Because Peacemaker was fucking weird.
It was. Brilliantly weird.
Yeah, it
but
was
weird.
probably stranger than the Suicide Squad.
Yeah, it was. But it was clearly like that's the thing. Like why was James Gunn perfect for Guardians? Well, because he could get weird.
Yeah.
He's a weird director. I mean, you look at some of the other stuff he's done over his career, like Slither. Slither's an odd fucking movie.
Yeah.
You know, there are other movies. Like he's an odd writer director, but like at the same time, like he fit the mold for what Guardians could be. Did it in his style in a way. It still was like a Marvel movie, but at the same time, like you said, the soundtrack to that, you know, both Guardians movies, and even like, you know, using Rubber Man in Infinity War.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's the type of stuff that like that's what James Gunn brings to the table. But like, can you do that for an overall? Like, can you have a Superman movie with that type of soundtrack?
Right, and then like with even when they went into the collectors area, that was James Gunn.
Yeah,
that was every piece of James Gunn rolled into
one.
That's
fucking Howard the Duck.
Yeah.
Nobody at Marvel wanted to use Howard the Duck but James Gunn.
And the Duck and the
Cosmo.
The Cocoon. I mean, like there was a lot of shit.
Yeah.
In the collector's collection, but that was like James Gunn's collection.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, those were all his.
Yeah.
He can make a movie out of anything in there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like anything in there he can make.
Right.
So yeah, I mean I get that, but I think they held him back a little bit. I think they reined him in a little bit for Guardians.
Well,
I don't think he could have went as weird as he could have, but it also showed that Gunn can make a movie without getting too fucking strange.
Right.
Like when you compare Guardians of the Galaxy to say Suicide Squad, there's a drastic line there or Peacemaker. There's a drastic line to where, man, we're way off the ship here.
The fact that James Gunn went to DC and said, I want to use Starro.
Yeah.
You know, the giant space starfish.
But it was a good story.
It was. It was a phenomenal story. But that's just never in my wildest dreams did I ever think I would see the villain from Justice League #1 on the movie screen.
Right.
And there was Starro.
Yeah.
Like, I was just like, I can't believe he even fucking went there.
Yeah, but he made it work.
Right, exactly. But he made it work.
Right. And with Guardians, like, that template was already set.
Right.
Gunn had to come in and just make it his without going overboard.
Right.
And I thought I think the first Guardians movie is just brilliant.
Oh, yeah, it is. It absolutely is.
I mean, like, the character introductions, the getting to know these characters, the characters meeting each other.
Right.
The whole thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it lets you know who all the characters were.
Right.
Within the first 40 minutes.
Right.
Like you had a base understanding of all the characters.
Right.
Pretty much, and you understood what Rocket was.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it just goes down the line. I mean, you knew what Groot was.
Right.
It told the story of Drax. Very good. Yeah. So I mean, like, it's kind of cool that way.
Right. But the flip side of that is, I don't want a Superman movie where he's fighting Mr. Mixoplex.
Yeah. Correct.
You know what I mean? Like it can't that can't be the first Superman movie I get from James Gunn.
Right.
Under his regime. Yeah, but that's the kind of thing like James Gunn would be like, a Mixoplex movie will be amazing. I'm like, really? So like, I mean, that's kind of my, like, that's my only concern is like he will get too weird.
Right.
Because he can with DC. Like you go back to the 50s with some of the oddball characters that I'm sure he absolutely loves and would love to bring to the screen. But at the same time, I need a Brainiac movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's what I need. I don't need Mr. Mixoplex. I need Brainiac against Superman. I need, this is like Metallo against Superman. This is the stuff I need. I don't need, I need you to give me a good Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
This is the stuff I need. Like, same with Batman. Like, you can delve into that rogues gallery a little bit, but man, don't go too deep, because there's some bullshit characters in there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But at the same time, there are some great characters I think he could take and mold. And, with the Flash, the same thing. With the Green Arrow, same thing. With Green Lantern, same thing. Like, there's a lot of, like, all these characters are so fucking old that you go back to, like, you can go back and say, like, man, here's a great villain from the 1950s. Like, no, don't do that. I need Sinestro. I need the Sinestro Corps. I need the Red Lanterns. This is the stuff I need from Green Lantern. I don't need you going back and finding some random villain from the 50s. I don't need Dr. Light. This is the stuff that a Green Lantern movie should be about. So there's that's just my hope, is like he's not going too far down the rabbit hole and saying, this is awesome, this is what I'm doing, and like, oh shit,
Right. Yeah, it's exciting that he's gone, and we'll see what he does.
Right. I agree.
I don't know where he'll go.
No.
I'm sure he has a plan.
I'm sure.
I don't think they would have hired him if he didn't have some kind of arc already in mind.
I'm sure he had to have gone to them, like when they interviewed him, that he had to have said, this is my general idea. These are my notes. This is where I think this could go. This is how we start. This is how we get to this. This is how we get to this. Like, I'm sure he has that in mind, and that, so now it's a matter of fleshing that out.
Right.
And I think that's what he's doing right now, is he's fleshing that out. Like, I hate, like, you see these websites that I don't trust to save my life, but they're always like, James Gunn's planning on doing this, or James Gunn, and James Gunn's like, on Twitter, like, there's only two people who know what we're talking about, and you're not one of them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's all shut up, and when I'm ready to tell you what my plans are, you'll hear what my plans are.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I wonder what his first movie will be.
I don't know. I honestly, I don't, because that has to be the movie is kicking off everything.
Yeah.
Like it's his Iron Man.
Yeah.
In many, many ways, it's going to be his Iron Man movie.
Yeah.
And this has to kick off the rest of your universe.
Right.
And I'm intrigued to see how he does that.
Yeah, me too. I'm curious to know.
Yeah.
What it's going to be.
Yeah.
And who he's going to introduce, and who he doesn't introduce. Yeah, we'll see. Because he's not going to go with that same old formula.
No. But at the same time, that same old formula kind of has to be in play a little bit.
Yeah.
how do you get to the Justice League? Well, I mean, the Zack Snyder way failed.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm sorry. Like, I like Man of Steel. Batman versus Superman is meh at best.
Mm.
You know, but you're taking essentially just 2 movies to get to your team-up movie.
Right.
Where, you know, Marvel took 4.
Right.
You know, they introduced each of the main characters. Even the side, like, even, you know, in Iron Man, well, actually, it took 5, because there's Iron Man 1, Iron Man 2. Iron Man 2, you get to introduce the Black Widow.
Yeah.
Then you get Thor, and that's when you get your first look at Hawkeye. And then you get Captain America, the First Avenger, which puts you to the first Avengers movie.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, so, like, even, like, so the Avengers are all, you've at least seen them.
Yeah, yeah.
In the first 5 movies to get to the team up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I know who Black Widow is. I didn't know who Barton was, but, you know, I at least saw him for a minute. You know, so it wasn't like this thing where, like, all of a sudden, like, you're trying to bring these people, you know, there's a formula that has to be followed, but you're right. Like, I wanted to see them break the formula a little bit.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, to get to the Justice League, you kind of have to give me these characters in a different way.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, it's just, how is he going to do that, I guess?
Right.
You know. Especially from what we have already.
Yeah.
And is he going to just mix it up all over? You know what I mean? Or
right.
I don't know.
Right. And like again, it's like, it's just, how do you get there? Well, like, I mean, the smartest answer is you start with Superman.
Right.
You know, you start with Superman. I don't know how you introduce Batman. I don't think you have to introduce Batman. And that's the weird thing. Like, unlike Marvel, you can at least, like we've all know who Batman is.
Yeah.
Like, even like a random audience person's like, oh yeah, that's Batman. I know who that is. I know his backstory. And parents killed him in an alley. Blah blah blah. Yakety schmackety. You know, like it's ingrained in our psychology at this point. Like, you know, just through osmosis, who Batman is.
Right.
But there are some, you know, like, what direction do you go with the League? Like, you know, how are you going to do Green Lantern? How are you going to introduce, like, how do you reboot Flash after this movie? Because it has to be done.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, so, I mean, there's a, you know, so do you do Flash? Are you doing a Green Arrow? You know, he wasn't one of the original members, but he was one of the next members.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, so there's a lot of things that, like...
I think it'd be cool if he did a Green Lantern movie.
That would be certainly up his alley.
And that would be kind of cool as a starting point.
Yeah.
Because you already have these other characters you sort of know about. Why don't you kick it up with Green Arrow? I mean,
Green Lantern.
Green Lantern, and then, you know, throw a bone in the end credit scene where he's.
Yeah, there's Henry Cavill.
Yeah.
You know,
hey, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Yeah, just flying around space.
Yeah. Or I mean, like, you know, Green Lantern's on Earth, you know. But, like, again, like, I mean, apparently they're going with the Jon Stewart version of Green Lantern, not the Hal Jordan. Which I'm okay with, because there's a generation of kids who grew up with Jon Stewart as their Green Lantern.
Yeah.
I get that. But, you know, at some point you got to give me Hal.
Yeah.
Please give me Hal. Give me a good Hal.
But that, you know.
Yeah.
That'd be cool, because everything else has been done. In a sense.
Yeah.
Why not start fresh?
Yeah.
And just do a Green Lantern movie.
Yeah.
I think that would be kind of cool.
Right. I just asked if they bring back Mark Strong as Sinestro.
Oh, yeah. Plus, Cavill's signed, so he's got his Superman.
Yeah.
And you think Gunn was...
I've heard our good friend of the show, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, talking about how, he's friend of the show.
Yeah.
You know, he was saying that apparently, like, he had to fight Warner Brothers to bring Cavill into the Black Adam movie. But I honestly believe that in those negotiations for Gunn to be hired, as like the top guy, he had to have like been like, I'll, this is what I need.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you can give me Henry Cavill as Superman, I've got a starting point.
Yeah.
I've got a brick to build on.
Yeah.
And I feel like it had to have been something like, because it's too coincidental that like all of a sudden Henry Cavill's like, hey, I'm back as Superman. I'm leaving The Witcher.
Yeah, he was like, I'm out.
Yeah. Go on.
I love this show. It's
This show is my life, but I get to go be Superman again.
Yeah. And it's kind of cool that he wants to. Well, I'm sure he got a shit ton of money.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, I think it's cool that he said, yeah, I'll throw
But
in the cape
I just find the coincidence is too much that Cavill announces he's back as Superman. And then, like, days later, James Gunn's the head of DCU.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay.
Well, maybe he likes him. I mean, maybe he liked him as Superman.
I'm sure he did.
I mean, most of us did.
Yeah.
I thought he was a great Superman.
I thought so, too. Like, I mean, I think Man of Steel is much maligned. I think it's a much better movie than people give it credit for.
Yeah.
I think it's a Superman story. I think it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
I think it brings the character into the 21st century.
Yeah.
And I mean, even though he says absolutely nothing in Batman versus Superman, I still liked him. Like, I mean, and I liked his struggle of like, no matter what I do, people hate me. There are those who love me, but there are more people who hate me, and I don't understand. Like, I'm just trying to do the best I can.
Right.
And like his mother's like, you don't owe us anything. You don't owe us jack shit.
Yeah.
You don't want to put that suit on anymore? I don't blame you.
Yeah.
So, like, it's like the character became very... And that's the hard thing with Superman is, like, how do you make him interesting?
Yeah.
Like, the big blue Boy Scout only works for so long. I love Christopher Reeve's Superman, but, man, that doesn't work today, does it?
No.
And...
I thought they captured that internal struggle really well.
Yeah.
And it's a good story in itself.
And by the end of Justice League, he becomes that symbol of hope.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I look back at like Superman the animated series, and I thought it did a very good job of modernizing at that time, and that was like '98.
Yeah.
Modernizing Superman, but he was still like at times,
Captain America.
Yeah. Gosh, Jolly G. But then there were other moments where like he's fighting Doomsday. He's like, you know what I like about you, big man? With everybody else on this planet, I have to treat them like they're paper mache. But you I can go all out on.
Yeah.
And he's just like wailing on Darkseid.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh shit. That was like one of those like cool moments of like where Superman's like, yeah, I could just lay you the fuck out.
Yeah. Well, I liked how they did that with. I mean, I'm not getting off DC at all, and I'm not going to get on this rabbit hole. But they did that with Evans with Captain America.
Yeah.
Because when you watch the first Cap, he is true blue. He's all about that wartime.
Right.
Go get him, USA.
Yeah.
Drink my milk.
Yeah.
That's who he was.
Right.
And like, I liked the progression of the movies, how he slowly faded away. Didn't fade away, but they brought more modern Cap in and faded the other stuff out a little bit. But then in every single thing that he was in, it always came out. But it wasn't like overbearing. Because in Captain America it was overbearing. And I think that's why a lot of people didn't like it, but I don't think they understood when they watched the first Cap movie, I don't think a lot of people understood the time period that was taking place in.
Yeah.
That's how people were.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Right.
And so now you get a man that wakes up in today's world. He's not going to change the way he talks and thinks. But it did. He modernized somewhat.
Right.
But then you get the thing with Spider-Man.
But you have that
Bronx.
Yeah.
Brooklyn.
But you have that moment where he still has that sense of right. Like in The Winter Soldier, when they're showing him like the helicarriers. He's like, yeah, that doesn't sound like freedom to me.
Exactly.
You know, and then you know, like refusing to sign the Accords in the Civil War.
Yeah.
You know, like he's like, you know, this is bullshit. You know, like he has a sense of right that's still there.
Oh, for sure.
But and a sense of duty that's always there until the end.
Yeah.
Like at the end, he's like, yeah, I decided to have a life.
Yeah.
Like I'm done. I you know, I just brought half the universe back. Done. You know, I am going and I am hanging out with my lady friend Peggy.
Exactly.
You know.
I'm having a life.
Yeah.
Which is deserved.
Exactly.
Because it was robbed from him in the beginning.
Exactly, yeah.
So, I mean, like, that full arc
Yeah.
of... And I remember when that movie ended, and there was almost a little bit of backlash of the Steve Rogers stuff going on. And I'm like, whoa, this is a full arc of Cap.
Yeah.
This is I mean, I know Avengers, there was an arc. But if you talk about the true arc from Cap 1...
To the end.
It was a full circle arc,
right?
To where he comes back and he gets the girl,
right?
And that's what it was. That's what it was all about. It's
right.
all about. It's always been about Peggy.
I mean, like to me,
it's always been about Peggy,
right? Because if you go back, like at the end of like I I'll be there for that dance, and like I could just imagine him knocking on her door, and it's like how that movie ends with like him and her dancing. I rolled a tear because I thought that was beautiful.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, you know, Cap went back and got his dance.
Right.
You know.
But to my point, like he always has that. He always has the goodness in him.
Right.
Like he's always true blue,
right,
so to speak. But.
Like being hurt at her funeral. Like that hurt him.
Oh,
She died.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
Bad.
Yeah. You know, so I mean, it was like
it's a very sad story,
and like there's that whole thing too. Like people say, like if you look at, and not that I think they planted this, but if you go back and you watch that funeral scene, the pallbearers, there's an old guy with white hair carrying that casket, and they're like, "Well, it was Steve."
Yeah.
And nobody knew it because he was an old man.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, so like I was like. This like interesting thing, like did they plan it or didn't they?
Yeah.
You know, like because that was the Russos who directed that movie.
Yeah.
Who directed Civil War, and so it's like, so did they have it like in their mind, like with them and Feige, like yeah, this is his. So we're gonna put this old man here. You're not gonna see him. You just see like the top of his head, this old man with gray hair. And when we get to the end of Infinity War, you know, there's old man Steve Rogers, and you're like, oh shit, he was at the funeral.
Hell yeah.
You know.
But I mean, I think that was like, I mean, say what you want about how the movie played out, but that whole Captain America arc was just so center focus.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, people say Tony Stark and da 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 da. I was like, nah, it was really Captain
It's the two
America.
of them. It is the two of them.
It was.
They both, because you go from.
But I
Tony,
thought Steve. I thought the Captain America arc was much better than the Tony Stark arc. It just made more sense to me.
Right, but at the same time, it goes back to that whole thing of like, you go back to the Avengers movie, and he's like, you know, you're not the guy who's willing to jump on the grenade, and Tony's like, no, I'd find a way to disarm the grenade.
Correct.
Well, at the end, Tony jumped on the grenade.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
no, I mean I get his arc.
Right, and his arc goes from being the self-centered. You know, even as Iron Man, he was this self-centered. Like Shield was like, yeah, we can't use you for the Avengers. We'll use it consult, but you know, you're not qualified to be an Avenger. And he's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, because he's not a team player.
Yeah, but at the end, he makes the ultimate sacrifice. You know, so his arc is I love it, but they both have an arc.
Right.
And that's Tony's, and Steve's is the other way of Steve's is the guy who's willing to make the sacrifice, who's committed to duty, all this stuff. And at the end of it, he's like, I've done enough.
Yeah. Well, I think that was going through his mind when he was like tightening up that shield.
Yeah. Yeah, when he was tighten up that half shield that he had left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was like, all right, I'll take this whole fucking place on.
Yeah.
You know what
But
I
I mean, like, the end of
For
it...
duty.
Yeah, for duty. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, but I mean, like, at the end of it, like, you know... Yeah, he was just like, I've done it.
Yeah.
Don't call.
I like Steve because I liked his isolation. I know that sounds twisted, but he had no one.
Yeah.
And it was hard for him, like, just being alive, period. But it was hard, like, he didn't make friends.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And so, like, he became friends with people like Falcon
Yeah.
and Widow. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
It wasn't really, I mean, those were probably his two closest, I would say.
Right.
Wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Because he wasn't really friends with Stark.
No.
In a sense, but
Yeah.
not like...
I mean...
Not as close as he was to Widow and fucking Falcon.
Right.
I don't know. But even the relationship between him and Falcon was not strange, just not, you know, that's my best friend. You know what I mean? Like, I think Falcon felt that way.
Yeah.
But I don't think Steve felt that way.
Yeah, that was Bucky.
Yeah, Bucks.
Yeah.
I loved how Bucky knew he was going to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, him and Steve sat down and Steve's like, hey, I ain't coming back.
Yeah.
You know, when I come back, I'm going to be an old man.
Yeah.
You know.
I like Bucky in that, too. I liked his storyline, too.
But I also
loved. I just thought the movie could have been a lot better. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when the movie with the Baron and Bucky and stuff like that, I loved
the TV show, you mean?
No.
Oh.
Oh, I love that too.
Yeah.
I thought it got 10 times better once the Baron was in.
Right. But you're talking, it's a Civil War.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I loved it.
Yeah.
But hearing Baron...
Zemo.
Yeah, Zemo. Hearing Zemo call out the numbers in Russia.
Yeah.
I was...
Yeah.
That's badass.
Yeah.
And like the fear in his eyes, like, don't.
Yeah. Don't do this to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just, I love that part. I don't know why it's twisted. But anyway, but yeah, I mean, like, Steve was alone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he was so isolated. Even with his whole team around him, he was still
a man at a time.
Man at a time.
Yeah.
You know. But man, he played it perfect.
He did. Like, I can't imagine anybody else playing Steve Rogers.
I can't imagine anybody else ever pulling off a character like Captain America. Like, sure, you could say Wolverine. You can even say Iron Man. But to truly encompass that character, he fucking nailed it.
Like, but in all honesty, I you know, as a nod to Robert Downey Jr., I can't imagine anybody else playing Iron Man.
Yeah, I can't either.
Like, in all honesty, like if I read an Iron Man comic book, I'm picturing Robert Downey Jr.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like when they announced he was going to be Tony Stark, like, that's perfect. That's the perfect hire.
Yeah.
You know, just from the standpoint of he could get the character.
Yeah.
Like, everybody wanted Demon in a Bottle. Well, you're not going to get Demon in a Bottle. The closest he came was Iron Man 2. But I mean, like, honestly, that doesn't make a good movie.
Right.
Like, watching a guy fight his alcoholism, it's not a good movie.
No, it's not.
You know, it's a good movie, like, as a drama, but not as a superhero movie.
No.
You know, nobody wants to watch that. It was a great comic book series because it was one of the few times, well, I shouldn't say that, but it was like one of those times where, like, Marvel went into a rabbit hole of, like, you know, from like a social standpoint.
Yeah.
Like, you know, this is alcoholism, and here's this character who womanizes and drinks. He got a problem.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
So the closest you get to Demon in the Bottle is Iron Man 2. But that's all you're going to get.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
And I liked Iron Man too.
I like it too. I just rewatched it not too long ago. I'm like, that's better than I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People had a lot of problem with Whiplash.
Yeah, I still kind of do, but I got over it for the overall story.
Yeah.
The guy I hope they find a way to bring back at some point is Sam Rockwell.
Yeah.
as whatchamacallit. He was amazing.
Yeah, he was.
You know,
Yeah, he was amazing.
he was fantastic in that movie.
And that was the introduction of Don Cheadle as Iron Man.
Yeah.
War Machine.
Yeah.
And I thought he was good as War Machine.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't wait for the Iron Wars movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's that thing of like we sometimes this casting is just on the nose.
Yeah.
Like when they announced they're doing the Doctor Strange movie, it's like, well, it's got to be Cumberbatch. It has to be Cumberbatch. Cumberbatch has to play Strange.
Yeah.
There's nobody else in the world that can play Strange but Cumberbatch.
Right.
Like we all said it.
Yeah.
You know, and luckily Marvel listened and went and got the guy, and boy were we all right.
Yeah.
You know, but that's the first hire, Robert Downey Jr. I'm like, fuck, that is like just on the nose perfect.
Yeah, but pretty much everybody they've picked has been pretty much perfect. Paul Bettany, his vision was amazing.
Oh yeah, I agree.
I mean,
Yeah.
no, I'm not saying I can't imagine anybody else's vision. Well, I mean, I can probably see that, but I mean, he was good vision.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and Scarlett Johansson was a good pick.
Yeah.
Chris Evans, of course, was perfect.
Right.
Everybody they seemed to pick out was actually pretty good.
Right.
Just phenomenal casting.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh, yeah.
searching for that character who you think can, you know. I thought Terrence Howard was a pretty good pick for War Machine.
Right. I thought so too. I mean, you know, unfortunately he.
Well, that's his thing. But
Yeah.
I mean, like, I thought he was a good pick for War Machine.
Yeah.
Don Cheadle was fine.
Yeah.
You know, Hemsworth as Thor. Was great.
Yeah.
Can you imagine somebody else playing Thor? At this point of the game?
No, at this point in the game, no. But like I feel like that. I think the one that's more impressive is Hiddleston as Loki. Like I can't imagine anybody else playing Loki.
Yeah. I like Ruffalo as Banner.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, you know, the list goes on.
Yeah.
I mean, just these characters are great. What's her name? Playing. Amy Pond.
Oh yeah. Karen Gillan.
Karen Gillan. Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Who would have thought
Yeah.
she can pull that off?
Yeah.
I mean, that's like.
Yeah.
That's a whole different side of the spectrum of acting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you pretty much have to act like a robot.
Yeah.
You know? Amy Pond was full of emotion.
Yeah.
Not on this.
Yeah. No.
And so that's when it's so cool when she does show emotion.
Right.
Because it just hits you right in the heart.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So. But yeah, casting's been perfect. But anyway, back to Soups. Yeah, you have to modernize him in a certain sense.
Right.
Because he is in the modern day. When you take someone that is in the modern day and you make him act like he's from the 1930s,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, that's a problem.
But at some point, like, I mean, it's one thing, like, and this is the thing I always talked about, like, because people were like, well, that's not Superman. That's not Superman. Superman doesn't start off as this symbol of hope. You know what I mean? Like, he has to get there. Like, that was what that story was supposed to be about, was his journey to get to being Superman.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and like part of it is, and this is where I think where the dispute makes sense to me. Those are values that are instilled in him in Smallville. That's Ma and Pa Kent instilling these values in him.
Uh-huh.
You know, and then him growing into his powers and understanding what his responsibility is. You can dispute that, you know, the Kevin Costner Pa Kent didn't ring true to the Pa Kent from the comics or the animated series, because that's where his values truly come from. And this Pa Kent's like, we need to hide you.
Yeah.
You know, like that scene where he's like, you know, should I have let those kids drown? He's like, maybe. Like, you're like, oh shit, that got real quick. You know?
Well, and then the ultimate scene.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, so like that's where I as much as I love, because it's more modern and it would be what somebody would think today.
Yeah.
Like, no, you can't. You have these powers. You have to hide them.
Right.
Because if you don't hide them, they're going to come and take you away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That makes sense to me. But at the same time, there is this thing of like, Pa Kent. Like, that was the whole point of the show Smallville. Like, how does Clark Kent not become this psychopath?
Right.
Like, this. Well, how doesn't he become the guy from The Boys?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's because of the values that were set to him by his parents.
Yeah.
And that's what Smallville's about at the beginning.
Yeah.
I mean, it evolves and changes, but I mean, it's literally, this is who we are.
Yeah.
We're good people. You're good people.
Yeah.
And let me tell you why.
Yeah.
And so like that's probably the only dispute I'll give people with, like, well, but at the same time, in a modern world, that would be something that, like, you would think.
Right.
Like, yeah, if so it, like, became the biggest secret in Smallville. Like, they all held the secret.
Yeah.
Like, everybody knew Clark was Superman. But they weren't going to tell you that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that scene where Lois Lane shows up in Smallville, and everyone's like, yeah, I don't know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
Like, so, but at some point, he does have to become that symbol of hope. even if you give him that story arc, which I liked, at the end of that arc, it has to end with him being Superman.
Yeah.
Define it however you want, but that has to be the symbol of hope. It's a symbol of hope on my chest. Here it's an S.
Yeah.
So, like, that's where he has to end up. He has to end up being that guy who's the Rock. Now, I mean, Batman, on the other hand, has to be the exact opposite side of that coin.
Right.
There's a reason why Batman has a contingency for every single member of the Justice League if they go rogue.
Yeah.
Because he trusts nobody.
Right.
So, but that's what you expect from him. You know what I mean? Like, that's the expectation.
Right. I mean, he didn't grow up in Smallville.
Yeah, exactly. Well, like, one of my all-time favorite, there's a book that's called Batman and Superman, The Quest for Kryptonite. It's easy for me to say. Mm. And it's all about, like, Superman's, like, pissed, like any Joe Schmo could get their hands on kryptonite at one point. Mm. Like, it's just everywhere. And he's just like, I gotta do something about this. So him and Batman go and they find every bit of kryptonite on the planet and destroy it. And at the end of it, Superman he's talking to Batman, he's like, I want to give this to you. And it's a box, it's a lead box, and Batman opens it and there's this rock of kryptonite in it. And Superman's like, in case something was to ever happen to me, you're the one person I would trust to handle this.
Yeah.
And Batman's like, well, I appreciate that. And Superman flies away, and Batman walks in the Batcave, goes up some steps, opens a safe that's lead lined, and there's just nothing but kryptonite in it. And he throws the box in, like, yeah, thanks. That's like,
yeah.
So
I'm gonna take you on one.
Yeah, one of these days I'm gonna have to do it, and I've got the ammo for it. So yeah, I mean, it's funny that way. Like, but like, there's a certain way these, like, much like with Marvel, there's just a certain way these DC characters have to be.
Yeah.
And I'm trusting James Gunn to get that right.
Yeah.
Flash has to be a certain way. Green Lantern has to be a certain way. If you're going to do Martian Manhunter, he has to be a certain way. Wonder Woman has to be a certain way. Like, all these characters have these traits. Like, there's a reason why Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman are the Trinity.
Why?
Well, because it's like Superman's hope, Batman's Batman. He's the darkness of this, and Wonder Woman is the balance between them. Like, she can go toe to toe with Superman. She's that powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah, like in the comic book, she is that powerful. She can go toe to toe with Superman.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, so she has this. I'm not going to call it a naivete, but there is a bit of a, like, she leans towards the trust that Superman has in the world, but at the same time, she can quickly go the other way to, like, Batman's side and be like, okay, yeah, we need to take these people out. Like, there's one book where, like, she breaks a guy's neck on national TV.
Wow.
Just snaps his neck for betraying the Justice League.
Wow.
You know, and it's just like, holy shit. But she's the balance between the two.
Yeah.
You know, like, so it's very interesting. But, like, so you have to have that, you know. There's a way that this team has to be constructed. There's a way these characters have to be constructed.
So who are the original members of the Justice League?
Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Hal Jordan, Green Lantern, The Flash, Aquaman, and Martian Manhunter.
What happens with Martian Manhunter?
Oh, he's always around.
Is he?
Yeah.
Like, what's his abilities?
Well, okay, he has the ability to, like, transform his body. Like, he can shapeshift.
Uh-huh.
But he can also, like... He's a lot like Vision, where he can, like, make himself heavier or lighter.
Okay.
Like, you know, like, he can go through things. He, like much like Vision can. He has all the powers like Vision does. But he also has that shape-shifting ability. And, telekinesis. Or not telekinesis. He's a telepath, so he can, like, read your mind.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, just curious.
Yeah, but he's a really interesting character because he's the last of his kind, or he's supposedly the last of his kind, and, you know, like, there's a very interesting backstory to him that, like, makes him an interesting addition to the Justice League. You know. So
they were like, yeah, you can join.
Yeah, kind of like, yeah. You're cool. Suit up. We gotta
Is
go
that
fight.
how they treated him?
We gotta go fight a giant starfish.
Or was he like,
Well,
did he get close to Soups or something? Or?
well, I think he's close to Soups, if I recall correctly. Like when you read it now, like, he's like the guy, like, he's up in the watchtower, like, you know, maneuvering people. Like, hey, we've got this going on here, so I need to get you and you over there, and I got a volcano erupting, so let's get you and you over here to help with that. You know, like, he's like that guy now. Like, he's up in the watchtower doing that.
Yeah.
But, like, back in the day, like, you know, like back in the day, it was also like, you know, Wonder Woman was the secretary.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Oh, yeah. Like, she was like, they're all sitting around a table. She's bringing them coffee.
Nice.
I mean, it was so sexist back in the day. You know?
Oh my God! For real?
For real. Like, she's like, you know, taking notes for the meetings and shit. Yeah.
Doing pantyhose commercials and shit.
Yeah.
Helping the Girl Scouts.
Yeah, it was shit like that. Like, it was like literally like you know, we're gonna go fight. We're gonna need you to come on. You know, get your invisible jet.
Right.
You know.
You're gonna help the Red Cross.
Yeah, exactly. That was exactly it. Like, you're helping the Red Cross while we go fight
Yeah.
whatever weird alien we have to fight this week.
Right. Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah. All right, so let's get to the other two trailers that debuted this week.
Yeah, well, Wonder Woman's grocery shopping and
Wonder
getting
Woman,
chipped ham.
Yeah, getting the
milk,
lunch meat
and some milk for Clark.
Yeah.
And some smokes for Batman.
Yeah. And a pack of Pall Malls.
Hey, a bottle of Jack and Pall Malls.
Yeah. Fucking penguin.
Yeah. Jesus. Anyway.
I had to fight a guy named Calendar Man this week. Fuck. So there were 2 other trailers that came out this week.
Okay.
Let's start with Transformers.
Yeah, that looked good.
Yeah, the Rise of the Beasts, I think it's called.
Yeah.
I was not a fan of Beast Wars.
No, I didn't like it either.
Now, I mean, there are people I know who, like, they were growing up in the 90s.
Yeah.
That's their Transformers.
Yeah.
You know? And they're very hardcore into this. Like, my understanding is, like, the Beast Wars cartoon was very, very good. Mm-hmm. It wasn't for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, at that point, I was like, man, you know, they're transforming into animals. Like, what? That doesn't make any fucking sense. They should be, you know, machines. You know, whatever. But my understanding is that cartoon was really, really well done. Just wasn't for me. So I'm not going to hold this against it. But at the same time, I mean, it looked good.
Yeah.
Like, the trailer looked good. It, like, the G1 look of, like, Mirage and Prime and B, I'm right there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's not Michael Bay. I think it's the same people who did Bumblebee.
Yeah, that's a bonus.
Yeah, it's a bonus. It's a huge bonus.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I feel like Bumblebee was a great soft reboot of the franchise.
Yeah.
And now we can move along. And, like, even, like, the look of the Transformers. I mean, they look better. They don't look like I can tell them apart.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whereas, like, before, like, other than Prime and B, like, they all just look like jaggedy, you know?
Yeah.
I could tell any of them apart.
Right.
So, like, I'm
It's like all their metal disappeared.
Yeah.
Like, and in this trailer, you can see hints of the car metal on them. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. They don't look like this, like, you know, a bunch of shit just sticking out everywhere. They look like the Transformers you transformed when you were a kid.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
And so, like, that, I mean, and that was what I thought, like, my first take from, like, the Bumblebee movie was, well, that looks like Bumblebee from the cartoons and the toy I actually played with.
Yeah.
And that scene on Cybertron, well, they all look like G1 Transformers. Holy shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I mean, that's where I was at.
Yeah.
So like, that excites me, like, just the look. But overall, like, I mean, I watched that trailer, I'm like, you know, kind of, Transformers movies are so hit and miss. Like, even though, like, Bay's not involved, I'm still kind of leery, but I'm interested.
Well, that's how we were with B, too.
Yeah.
So, I guess we'll have to go in with open minds.
I'm trying to, cause I even remember, like, when we watched that first trailer for Bumblebee, we were all like, this looks amazing.
Yeah.
Like, we were really impressed by it because of just how, like, that trailer had more heart in it than any of the Bay movies ever did.
Right.
And that was just a 2-minute trailer.
Right. And Bay kept killing off all the Transformers.
Yeah.
Which I couldn't understand.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's what I had a huge problem with those Bay movies. Is just, he kept killing off all my childhood heroes.
Yeah.
And, like, and what was left was John Goodman?
Yeah.
I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what was left.
Yeah.
And the Japanese one.
Yeah.
Guy.
I think it was voiced by Ken Watanabe.
Of course it was.
Yeah. Of course.
Which I liked.
Yeah.
But never developed anything out of him, really.
Right.
And that's what was left. And it's like, man, like, he opened the movie with killing off fucking, was it Jazz? Who was it?
Jazz.
Was it Jazz they killed, like, right away?
Yeah, I think so.
And I'm like, fuck.
Yeah.
And this is what I'm left with.
Yeah.
This monstrosity, John Goodman.
Yeah.
No offense, John Goodman did a great job with the voice.
Right.
It was great, but the character was dumb. I didn't enjoy that character.
Right.
And that's all I got.
Right.
You know? So, I mean, like, there's all these cool-ass Transformers. He didn't kill any of the villains.
Yeah.
Which I liked the villains, too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But, like, come on, man.
Yeah.
You're killing off everybody. You even killed Prime, which, well, that was a pretty amazing scene.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. That's what I had that. And, like, you never really got a good look at him. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Like you said. And when you did get a good look at him, they just look like gigantic robots, which I know they are. But
right. But they didn't look like Transformers.
No.
Like, there was nothing, like, I could ever say, like, wow, that looks like the toy I played with. You know what I mean? Like, these, I can say, like, Prime looks like the truck I played with as a kid, and Mirage looks like Mirage, and, you know, even RC looks like RC from the cartoons, you know.
Yeah.
So, like, it was, like, this whole thing of, like, okay, and we talked about it, like, with Bumblebee, like, that looked right. They looked right finally.
Yeah.
Like, I could tell them apart. I could say, well, there's this and there's this, you know. Like, I could see who they were.
Right.
You know, whereas, like, before, it was, like, you know, just a bunch of sharp, pointy edges everywhere. And you're like, is that... I don't know. You know, I mean, they fixed it with the Mark Wahlberg movies, but by the time you got to that point, you were just like, man, I'm kind of tapping out here. I mean, and that last Wahlberg movie was so fucking bad.
Oh, it was.
That was horrible.
Yeah, it was terrible.
You know, and like Bumblebee, like, resurrected the franchise.
Yeah.
And that movie has so much heart.
Yeah.
You know, it's so damn good.
Just don't bring back little robots and shit.
Yeah. I don't need to see robots humping balls and, you know, it's just bad.
Yeah, we don't need that.
Yeah.
The only little robots should be coming out of Soundwave.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Which, I mean, when I saw that, I mean, I'm watching fucking, I'm like, oh shit. I mean, so, like, you know.
Exactly. When you see that, you're like, that's right on the money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's good stuff.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you.
Yeah, so, like, it's that thing that just drives you nuts because you're like, man, it could have been done right the first time, but Bay did Bay. And now, like, I'm hoping this soft reboot. And, I mean, and it looked good. I mean, even the beasts look good.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I mean, when the gorilla was transforming in that battle scene, you're like, well, I better get 10 minutes of this shit. Because, I mean, that battle scene looked amazing.
Yeah, I hope we get a lot of that.
Yeah.
And I don't want it to be a flashback.
Yeah.
It's like, I remember.
Yeah.
No, it's got to be in the movie.
Yeah.
You know?
And the other thing is, the gorilla, that's voiced by Ron Perlman.
Nice.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, that's what, I mean, that was badass.
Yeah.
That whole scene was like, I want to see more of that.
Yeah, when the cheetah was running with Bumblebee and jumped over that rock and transformed in midair, and I was like, holy shit.
I know. But you got to see it, though.
Yeah.
You were seeing it.
Yeah. Where has this been for the past 20 years? You know?
Yeah. Like, you just didn't see it. You'd see some transformations, but it'd be like super quick, or you'd see like part of them transforming. Like
even that moment at the end of the trailer where it's Mirage and he slides and the dude gets out of the car and Mirage transforms and is walking with him. I'm like, that is badass.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh shit.
Well, it almost looks like that's kind of taking B's role. Not B's role, but Mirage is into this kid. So, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I get what you're saying. So I think overall, I mean, this trailer was intriguing. It has my interest. I mean, I'm already invested in the franchise. Yeah. But, like, my hopes are a little high, but I'm trying to keep my expectations tempered. Yeah. Just because it's a Transformers movie and you never know. But, like, Bumblebee was so good, I feel like coming off of that, we're in a good wave. Oh, yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, the template's there. Like, Bumblebee showed us how to make a good Transformers movie. Oh, yeah. Now it just needs to get a little bit bigger. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But keep the heart.
Yeah, exactly. I agree.
And but you're right. I mean, the Bumblebee movie, it pulled it off.
Yeah.
Hands down, that was an excellent film.
Yeah.
It only had, and it was pretty much just him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
With a flashback scene.
Yeah.
And an ending.
Yeah.
With some.
Yeah, with Prime, yeah.
Yeah. Prime's a badass.
So we had that, and we also had Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
Yes.
The fifth, and what I believe they're saying will be the final Indiana Jones movie.
Correct.
What I mean, you're the Jones fanatic. I mean, I am too, but you really lean into it more than I do.
Yeah, I thought it looked fantastic.
Yeah.
It didn't make me teary-eyed. Well, when you first see Sala, it did.
Yeah.
Because I love Sala.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Sala's always been one of my favorites.
Right.
You know what I mean? I just loved him.
Bad dates.
Yeah, he was
One of my
so
favorite
good.
lines ever.
But he was so good in the series.
Yeah.
It looked phenomenal. And I think the thing that I can pull away from this is that I couldn't pull away from Crystal Skull was I'm back in that world.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Jones and the
Yeah.
closet office and
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Right.
Now he's a huge professor.
Yeah.
But it kind of, if you're listening to it, he's kind of talking about his adventures and there's flashback scenes where he's like young again.
Yeah.
He's telling stories and,
Yeah.
and at some point it looks like he's going to go out and show him what he can still do.
Yeah.
Even if it kills him, which it
might. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So, but it's cool though because he's like, I've seen so many things over the years, which he has.
Yeah.
Even before Raiders,
Right.
he's seen stuff. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
there's
Technically, Temple of Doom takes place before Raiders.
yeah, I mean
the timeline.
right? And there are stories that we haven't even.
Yeah.
We've never been told.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure there's Indiana.
Yeah.
Because what was he about 30?
Yeah.
When he made timeline age-wise, he was probably around 30.
Yeah. When
Raiders and Temple and all that kind of stuff. So I mean, like, there's years there. I mean, they said it, from the beginning of Knights Templar, the third one. I know it's not Knight, but that's what it was based on.
Right.
What's the fucking name of that movie? Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Last Crusade, yeah.
But, he was Indiana Jones from the time he got the hat.
Yeah.
He was always trying to do good in some sense of the word. There was that whole thing on the ship where he was trying to get that cross.
Right, yeah.
So, I mean, I think that he has tons of stories, and I think some of these stories are coming out to play in this.
Right.
Which I'm interested in, number one.
Right.
Number two is like, it's the final hurrah. It's the final... He's finally letting go. I think he let go a while ago. But I mean, like, I think he wants to end it. He's sort of Stallone in it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, put it to bed.
Yeah. Put it to bed properly.
Correct.
Which is what I'm hoping.
Yeah,
I'm hoping this washes away the stain of Crystal Skull.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, me too. Hopefully. The only thing I didn't see in it, I didn't see her in it. Karen Allen.
I don't think she's in the movie.
That's a shame.
I agree.
Because she was the bright spot of Crystal Skull.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. But it would make sense if she wouldn't be there.
Right.
Because Indy's Indy.
Right. He may have settled down for 10 minutes.
Yeah. I think they probably got married for a year.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Right.
I'm sure they're going to explain that.
Right.
Or maybe she died.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah. But it was kind of sad to see the gray-haired Indy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah. That whip. I love how they brought that whip into play.
Yeah.
You know?
But, I mean, it was that thing of, like, there's a moment where I'm thinking to myself, he's back.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, this feels like an Indiana Jones movie.
Oh, it did.
You know?
All over.
It did. And then there's a moment where I'm also like, yeah, but Harrison Ford's 80.
Oh, I know.
You know what I mean? Like,
But I think in this movie, it's showing that.
yeah, I agree. I agree. I mean, I feel like that's what
I think they even did it a little bit in Skull.
Yeah.
In the whole, when they went to the Area 51 thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I'm just too old for this shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But I mean, it's just that there's this thing of like, and I'm hoping I'm wrong. Like, I really am. Like, I think it's one thing to be Han Solo. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That you could. Like, he didn't have an action scene, a real action scene in that movie.
No.
You know, for the most part, a little bit of running around on the freighter. You know, but other than that, like, it wasn't anything like overly demanding. You know, this is Indiana Jones. You know what I mean? Like, this is a different creature, so to speak, where, like, you know, you're used to seeing Indy running from the boulder. You know, everything he's done over the years is like, this is what Indiana Jones is, and like, and not that I think he's like sitting behind an office desk the entire time, because obviously he's not from the trailer, but like, I don't want him to be like, I don't want him to be the sidekick.
Yeah, I get it.
Like, his goddaughter is apparently, you know, that female character. Like, I don't want him to be like, hey, yeah, you go ahead and do that. I'm too fucking old.
Right.
You know, I'll wait here for you. Let me know how it works
I'm
out.
gonna sit on this bench.
Yeah, yeah, you know.
And
I think Steve Rogers is coming by any minute.
catch up on my Latin.
Yeah. So, like, I mean, and again, like, I mean, from the trailer, I don't think it's. I mean, he's riding a horse into a subway.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, so I don't know, but like, I'm just hoping it sends the character off in a way that we can be like if they never had made another Indiana Jones movie after The Last Crusade, like that moment where him and Sala and his dad and the guy from the museum, they're all riding off into the sunset together. That was perfect. That's Jordan hitting the game winner against Utah.
All right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
That's the image you want of Jordan for the, you know, that's how he ended his career. Not as a Washington Wizard.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, like, I'm just hoping I get that back a little bit, where it's like, this is how the franchise ends. This is Henry Jones riding off into the sunset one last time.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's... But again, like, I watched the trailer and I got excited.
Yeah, I know.
And you can't help but be excited. It's like, it's Indiana Jones. Like I'm watching it, and then, like, you know, the dun 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 dun, like that hits, and I'm just like, I get goosebumps.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it's indie.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Fuck, it's just like, you know, I've been watching you for 40 years.
Yeah.
You know? I've been in love with this character for 40 years. And I just wanted to see it done right. One last time. That's, I guess, the thing.
Yeah.
You know? And I don't know how that is with an old man indie.
Yeah.
But I hope it's done well. I hope it strikes that right bit of humor.
Right.
That indie always has. But yet the action is high stakes and exciting and
Yeah, I guess you don't. I mean, what I don't want is I don't want Indy playing Sean Connery's role.
right.
Do you know what I mean?
Right.
You know, I don't want that.
No, not at all.
And it doesn't look like he is, because I mean, he is riding a horse in a subway, and
Right.
that's definitely an action sequence.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And I remembered my Charlemagne.
Yeah. probably one of Sean Connery's best performances.
Oh, absolutely.
He was great.
He was. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, that was Connery. Probably, you're right. Probably at his best.
Yeah, he was really good in that movie.
Yeah. I mean, between that and The Rock.
My only negative from that movie is the fucking other professor. Just drove. He just got on my nerves.
Yeah.
I get it. I mean, I understand his point.
Marcus.
Yeah, Marcus drove me crazy. The pen. Shut the fuck up. I mean, I get it. I just got. He just irked me for some reason.
Yeah.
Although one of the funniest lines in the movie is when Indy's saying, "He'll blend in.
Yeah.
You'll never see him coming." That's one of the funniest lines in the movie. Yeah. But that's what I hope this movie has.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think Crystal Skull ever had that.
No. It had some moments, but they weren't Indiana Jones moments. It felt like, except for like when he in the beginning when he missed that swing and he fell back into the truck.
Perfect.
That was like perfect. You know.
But then you look at the fight scene at the restaurant between the greasers and the jocks and Indiana Jones or whatever that mess mess was.
Yeah.
It looked like something you would see at Universal Studios.
Yeah.
It wasn't good.
Right.
It just was not good.
Right.
You know?
No, I agree. I mean, and then the moments with Karen Allen
were phenomenal.
Right. Like in the truck when he, pulls out the bazooka and, I mean, there's all sorts of like the waterfall scene. Like, I mean, there's like lots of like good moments but it's with Karen Allen.
Yeah.
Which
was good.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, that's just... Yeah, it was in left field.
Yeah.
Like I said, there were parts I loved about it. Like, I didn't appreciate the fire ant scene.
No, neither did I.
I thought that was terrible. I thought the pygmy thing was terrible, too. I don't know what kind of creature that was.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
I think the thing that was so cool about Raiders, and even Temple, even The Last Crusade, it dealt with real things. Like, I know Raiders ended with,
Yeah.
I guess you could say supernatural, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But that was one of Hitler's quests.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Right.
And this one just happened to be real. I mean, like, in the movie. But it was all like, it was like a real adventure.
Right.
The rolling of the ball, the poison tip darts, being afraid of a snake, and
right.
going on a puddle jumper, and
right.
all that kind of shit played.
Right.
Going down into one of the coolest things, going down into the tombs.
Yeah.
The snakes. I mean, everything was like, wow, that's cool. You know what I mean? Like, that's what an archaeologist does,
Yeah.
Temple, same type of thing. Well, that kind of good. They went for gross factor and more in Temple than they did for actual story, I think. There was a lot of good moments in Temple, though.
Right, but I mean, that's the movie George Lucas wrote in the midst of a divorce.
Correct, and it's
so it reflects the darkness that he was feeling.
Correct.
But at the same time, like, I love that movie because, like, other than like the dining room scene, like, which I know like people like, it's funny but I didn't need it. I mean, like the whole thing, like with ripping the heart out.
Yeah.
And like that stuff was good. I mean, the end and the bridge, and he's like, hold on, and he cuts we're going for a ride, lady. I mean, that's great.
Yeah, yeah.
And even the beginning of that movie, at the bar, and everything, and then we get on the plane. It's Sha Lo's plane. I mean, that stuff's great.
Yeah, yeah.
There's all sorts of good stuff in that movie. It's very Indiana Jones. I mean, the dinner scene, it throws you a little bit because it went for gross out and humor, but while trying to give you the history of what they're talking about.
Right.
But at the end of the day, like I like the overall story. I like when he got the rock and he was bringing it back to the we knew you had succeeded when our crops began to grow again and stuff like that was cool stuff.
Yeah.
You know.
And in Temple, and I mean, like I said, there was a lot of good stuff in Temple.
Yeah.
But, there were some things where I'm like,
yeah.
But I always, I pick apart it. I mean, I've watched them so many times.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Right.
And I really liked The Last Crusade. I thought that was one of my favorite parts is when he's in the on the motorcycle.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite scenes.
Yeah.
He's so trying to impress his dad.
Yeah. And his dad's just sitting there.
Just sitting there.
Tremendous.
Fucking takes a fucking wooden gate,
Yeah.
and jousts with it.
Uses as a lance and then flips over another bike.
But that's the great magic of that movie because
Yeah.
he's like, I got him on this one, and he's like,
Yeah.
yeah, pay attention, And his dad ended up saving the day.
Yeah.
At the end of it.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, I don't know. It was just. I hope it has that magic to it.
I hope so.
Because Crystal Skull just did not have it.
No.
It just didn't.
No, I agree. It had it in spurts, but they weren't long enough spurts.
Yeah. And like. Even at the end. Like. It was just too wackadoo.
Yeah.
Like, I thought the whole idea behind the crystal skulls were cool.
Right.
That was actually a really good thing to throw in.
Right.
I thought that was
right.
quite perfect. It fit in with
right.
the Ark of the Covenant, the
right.
Knights Templar, the Last Cup.
Right.
You know what I mean? The stones.
Right.
And like, it fit within that circle. It just went real wackadoo. Like, right at the end. And it's just like, I don't know. I get where they were coming from.
Right.
They say, the crystal skulls were alien. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's also, in archaeology, they talk about,
Yeah.
and you look at the, not lithographs, but drawings and stuff like that.
Right.
What's the name? Hieroglyphics.
Hieroglyphics, yeah.
Elongated heads. And,
Yeah.
it all makes sense. It just, the way they delivered it was just wackadoo.
Yeah. Like, Indiana Jones shouldn't have anything to do with science fiction. It should have to do with mythology.
Yeah.
Be it Christianity, which many would consider mythology.
Right.
Or, like, Indian mythology with,
Yeah.
So, I mean, there was stuff that, like, that's the beauty of, like, what Indy does, but, like, yeah, like, when it's, like, the extra dimensional beings, and this is a spaceship, I'm like, oh.
Yeah, that's where it went off the rails.
Yeah.
Oh.
It hurt.
It did.
No, that's not right.
Right. But, yeah. So, hopefully it'll capture that magic that, that I felt when I was little.
Yeah.
When I first saw Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
That's what I want. That's what I want.
Exactly. All right. Let's wrap this bad boy up then.
All right.
Anything you'd like to add to the proceedings there, sir?
No, I'm good.
All right. Well, remember, there are a number of different ways you can reach out and touch us.
Hey.
You can send us an email like Thad does each and every week, but we don't read it because he normally doesn't have anything to say about the program. And that email address is pittsburghnerd@yahoo.com. You can also find us on Facebook and Twitter. Just search Pittsburgh Nerd Podcast. We're very, very easy to find. And you can also find us on a number of podcasting networks. We're on the Podbreed. Excuse me. My goodness. I'm very gassy today. I was talking tonight. Mm-hmm. You can find us on the Tangent Bound Network, the Weeby Geeks Network, and the Podbreed Network. Just give them a Google search. You can find all the other great shows that they have to offer. And as always, I want to thank you, dear listener, for checking us out each and every week. We can't thank you enough for supporting our hijinks and or shenanigans. And so on that note, the dreamer has awakened.
Peace.